Well, how you doing? This is not where I'd planned on being today. Still in Vegas. Still getting loaded. Everybody's loaded and gone. Not this guy. Nope, I get to hang out and, yeah. YouTubing and chilling, but, done with YouTube. I've watched everything. Friggin', watching some superhero Gen V thing, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, just hanging out. Take their sweet time to load me. About every 30 something on the truck, and then I hear them out there doing what they do, and then something else goes on the truck, and yeah. So, anyway, I'm gonna be driving all night. Yay. I don't even know where I'm gonna get. I've only got well, I can do a split sleeper berth. I'm gonna have between 7 and 8 hours off by the time I actually get going. So I could do a split sleeper berth, drive for 5.5, stop for 3 or 2. So split sleeper berth, we'll talk about that. The way, I guess we'll start at the beginning with logs. And for my thumbnail, I'll put a picture of the logs so you've got an idea of what's going on. I don't know how to just insert a picture into the video yet. I'm not that cool. But, okay, so as a DOT driver, I'm running on 70 hours and 8 days. That's what I'm allowed to operate. So, in a single day, I'm allowed to work within a 14-hour shift. Within the 14 hours, I can drive 11 hours, or I can have, yeah. I don't know. I'm always logging off duty, so I don't know. I don't know if on-duty time counts against the 14. I think it does. Or against the 11. But, yeah, it does. So, I'm allowed to be on duty for 11 hours within a 14-hour period. And then, within that 11, within 8 hours, you can't work for any more than 8 hours consecutive without a 30-minute break. So within the first 8 hours, I have to have a 30-minute break, and then I can work the rest. General rule of thumb, if you're running hard, you go for 5.5 hours, you stop for 30 minutes, and then you go for another 5.5, and then you better be parked because you're down. You're out of time. And I can do that until I've exhausted my 70 hours within an 8-day period. After 8 days, day 9, I get that first day, whatever I worked that day, back. That's called recap. If I'm running hard, doing 5.5, 30, 5.5 on, 30 off, 5.5 on, doing that every day, well then 7 days I'm out of time. I've got nothing left. In fact, the 7th day I've barely got anything left. And then, so then in that case you would want to do, you have to have a 34-hour off-duty period to reset and get your 70 hours back. You get 34 consecutive hours off, then you have a full 70 to operate with again. I've been on recap because sitting around waiting to get loaded, or sitting around waiting to get tires, or sitting around waiting to get an alignment, and I've spent more time sitting this last week than I've probably ever done driving, period. Well, except for when I was with Schlumberger. Did a lot of sitting around then. Hurry up and wait. And that was an oil field rule, so it was totally different. But So split sleeper berth, the way that works is you've got two options. You can do 7 and 3 or 2 and 8. Or I'm sorry, 8 and 2. So you take 7 hours off because you have to have 10 hours. But with a split sleeper berth, you can take 7 hours off, work, do the 5.5, and then take another 3 off, and then you can do another 5.5, and then you can either do 7 and 5.5, 3, 5.5, so on, or go back to the regular, 11 hours. You do your 5.5, wait 30 minutes, 5.5, and you're done. Or you can do 8 and 2, which is you drive or you take 8 hours off, and then you can drive for another 5.5, and I keep saying 5.5 because we're only allowed 11 hours within a reset cycle, right? But we can split that reset cycle up. So basically and that's where the 8 and 2 is a really good gig, because I don't sleep 8 hours. You just have to be off 8 hours. So you get 8 hours off, you drive 5.5 hours, and then you take a freaking 30-minute, or a 2-hour lunch break or dinner break or whatever it is. And then you can go in and get a shower or whatever, get something to eat, chill. And then another 5.5 hours, and then that's your 11, right? So then you're parked, and then you do another 8 hour, and then you can do 5.5 hours, stop for 2 hours, 5.5 hours, 8 hour, and so on, and you can run it out that way. Or you can do your regular 10 and 11 and 10 and 11, 10, 11, or until you get where you're going. It's kind of like playing chess. You gotta look at it different ways. But the thing is when you've got loaders burning your clock down like these guys are me, I've got a 22-hour drive. Well, I can only drive 11 hours a day, and I've got to be there Saturday morning unloading, and I'd better not be late. This is kind of a high-profile load, so I've got to make the best of whatever time I have. And if I go right now, then all I can do is 5 hours, and then that off for 10, and then so just to make more progress quicker, split sleeper berth might work out in my advantage, at least for tonight. So I've got my 8 hours off sitting here, drive for 5.5, stop for 2, drive for another 5.5, and then we'll see where I'm at. At that point, I could do another 8 hour, and then drive for 5.5, 2 hours off, drive for 5.5, 8 hours, and then I could just squeak in just in time to get unloaded. That might be the way I have to go. So, yeah, that's the name of the game. And I'm sure I just hurt everyone's brain with the whole spitting out a bunch of numbers on, off, and whatever. But if you get it, great. If you don't, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. I'll see what I can do to answer you. But crash course in hours of service, and do not get caught going over. DOT gets you, they'll put you out of service. They will shut you down, and you're stuck. You're doing a 34 right there. I don't have time for a 34. If I end up getting stuck doing a 34, I'm not making my drop on time. That's not good. So, yeah. Got to be smart. Plan your route. Figure out where you're going to stop beforehand. And get off the road before you're out of time. Anyway, so that's the game for today. My PSA, be patient. I'm going to preach that a lot because it's tough when you're waiting and people are burning your clock down and they don't care. But anyway, I love you guys. Be nice and keep her between the ditches. Bye.